Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the podcast where we plunge into the source material you share, surface the key insights, and basically give you a shortcut to being genuinely well-informed. Today, we're tackling something huge. It touches, well, everything. Our jobs, our future, maybe even our reality itself. We're talking about artificial intelligence and how fast it's accelerating. It's almost hard to fathom. Yeah, our deep dive today centers on this really striking interview with Dr. Roman Yampolskiy. He's a big name in AI safety, associate professor, been working on this stuff for 20 years. He actually coined the term AI safety. And honestly, what he's saying about the next few years is, well, it's pretty startling.
It really is. Dr. Yampolskiy, he started out thinking safe AI was possible, but after 2 decades, he's landed on this really stark conclusion that it's not something we can actually do. He warns that AI capabilities are just exploding exponential or maybe even hyper-exponential, he says. But AI safety, that's moving linear or constant. So you get this huge widening gap. His mission now, and this is sobering, is to make sure that superintelligence we are creating right now does not kill everyone.
Wow. That's quite a mission statement. Okay, so for you listening, our goal today is to unpack these really urgent predictions. We need to understand what this means for society, for your life, and we'll even get into this pretty mind-bending idea he has that maybe, just maybe, we're already living in a simulation. Okay, let's start unpacking. Where do we begin? First off, the AI landscape itself. It's evolving so fast. Dr. Yampolskiy uses some specific terms. Maybe we should define those first.
Good idea. Yeah, he lays out a few key levels. So first, you've got narrow intelligence. These are AIs that are amazing at one specific thing, like think chess playing computers, or AlphaFold, that's the one that predicts protein structures. He actually calls AlphaFold sort of super intelligent, but only in its very narrow field.
Go ahead. Narrow intelligence. Got it.
Like a specialist.
Exactly. Then there's artificial general intelligence, or AGI. This is the goal for many labs, an AI that can operate across lots of different areas, like a human can, and often better.
Yeah.
Dr. Yampolskiy thinks we have a weak version of this right now?
A weak version of AGI. Okay, what makes it weak? Like, what's missing compared to a full AGI that could just operate anywhere without us guiding it? That seems like a key jump. It's a huge jump. Yeah. So a weak AGI, it might look general, but it still needs a lot of human hand-holding. Fine-tuning specific training data for every new kind of task. It doesn't have that independent spark, that ability to just learn and adapt on its own across totally different problems.
Right.
It can mimic understanding, sure, but it doesn't get it like a full AGI theoretically would.
Okay, that makes sense. So AGI is the generalist. Then there's superintelligence. That's where things get really wild, right? What defines that? What makes it smarter than all humans in all domains? That sounds immense.
Precisely. Immense is the word. It's not just smarter than one person or even the smartest person. It's smarter than all of humanity combined in every field. Science, art, strategy, everything. We are definitely not there yet. But, and this is his point, the gap is closing so fast. He gives this really striking example with mathematics. Large language models just a few years ago were like subhuman at math. Now, in just 3 years, they're better than most mathematicians. They're helping with proofs, winning competitions. That speed in just one complex area, it kind of shows what's coming.
Wow. Okay. So from these definitions, he then makes some, incredibly specific predictions. Yeah, really soon. He says in 2 years, so by 2027, we'll likely have AGI. And that's not just him pulling a number out of thin air. He points to prediction markets, CEOs of the big AI labs. They're kind of converging on that time frame.
Okay, AGI by 2027. But then he says something even more drastic. Right. He says in 5 years, so by 2030, we could be looking at 99% unemployment, not 10%, 99. And get this, he stresses this is without superintelligence. Just AGI is enough to cause that in his view.
99% unemployment.
Yeah.
I mean, what does that even look like? It's hard to picture.
It is. He basically describes it as this flood of free labor, physical and cognitive. Trillions of dollars worth. Suddenly, it just makes no sense to hire humans for most jobs. Anything on a computer, gone first. But then, he says, by 2030, with things like Tesla's humanoid robots getting better, all the physical labor can also be automated. He even mentions plumbing, which he kind of jokes feels like the last bastion of human employment. But nope, potentially automated too.
Okay, this obviously hits home for everyone listening. People who are thinking about their jobs, their degrees. He actually uses a podcaster like us as an example, doesn't he?
He does. He says, look, a large language model today can easily read everything I wrote, figure out the style, optimize it for views, even make video simulations. The human podcaster. Potentially redundant. He also tells this story about his Uber driver being confident, AI can't drive like me. But Yampolskiy just points out, we already have self-driving cars replacing drivers. It's happening.
Yeah, and the reaction he describes is that cognitive dissonance. People think, oh, it won't affect my job, AI can't be creative, whatever. But you mentioned earlier, this time feels different from, say, the Industrial Revolution, where new jobs popped up.
That's his core argument. Exactly. Past shifts created new kinds of work you could retrain. But Yampolskiy warns, this time, there's no plan B. If all jobs will be automated, what do you retrain for? There aren't new human jobs emerging, according to this prediction. He gives examples like, remember, learn to code. That was the advice. But AI started coding better. Then it was prompt engineer. That lasted, what, months? Before AI could design prompts for other AIs? Even designing the AI agents themselves, he thinks that'll be automated in a year or two.
So, okay, if 99% of people aren't working, what happens then to society? I mean, money, sure, but also just purpose. What do people do?
Right. He actually says the economic part seems easy, which sounds weird, but his logic is free labor means abundance. Stuff gets dirt cheap. Basic needs are covered. The hard problem, he thinks, is what do you do with all that free time? Because for so many people, jobs aren't just money. They're meaning, structure, identity, a world with 99% unemployment. Who knows? Impacts on crime, pregnancy rates, things he says governments don't have programs prepared for. It's a total shift in how humans live.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly. You mentioned Dr. Yampolskiy started out optimistic about AI safety. What specifically changed his mind so drastically? What did he encounter in those 2 decades?
It was about 5 years into focusing purely on safety that he had this realization. He said, every single component of that equation is not something we can actually do. He describes it like a fractal. You think you solve one safety issue, but underneath it, there are 10 more problems, and under those, 100 more problems. And many of them seem fundamentally impossible to solve with our current approaches. It just keeps getting more complex.
This gap you mentioned between capability and control.
Yeah.
It sounds genuinely alarming. What are the immediate risks he sees from that gap, even before we hit full superintelligence?
Well, the immediate risk is that our current safety measures are just flimsy. He calls them patches, little fixes. And any smart system, like a smart employee dealing with rules, will find workarounds. The core issue is that capability is racing ahead exponential, while safety is just plodding along, linear or constant. That gap grows wider every day, making control less and less likely.
And a huge part of this is that we don't actually understand these systems fully, right? Even the creators, they're like black boxes.
That's exactly right. He uses that term black box. People building things like ChatGPT, they have to run experiments on their product to learn what it's capable of. It's flipped from engineering, where you build what you understand, to, well, he calls it science. You're creating this artifact, growing it like an alien plant, and then we study it to see what it's doing. How do you guarantee safety for something you don't fully grasp?
That really raises the question of responsibility. If the creators don't fully get it, who is responsible for safety? And what are their ethical obligations?
Yeah, Yampolskiy is pretty blunt here. He says the developers, their only obligation they have is to make money for the investors. Legally, commercially, that's it. He feels they have no moral or ethical obligations baked into the system. And their answers on safety. Often things like, we'll figure it out when we get there, or the idea that AI will help us control more advanced AI. He calls that last one insane from a probability standpoint. It's a massive gamble driven by profit, not precaution, in his view.
Okay, so people listening might be thinking of counter-arguments, like, what about enhancing humans? Can we merge with AI, keep up that way?
He addresses that. He basically dismisses it. He argues silicon-form computers are just inherently better suited for intelligence than our biological brains. Faster, tougher, more energy efficient, scalable. And the idea of uploading your mind, he thinks that just creates software. It's a copy, maybe, but it's not you continuing. So enhancement isn't really a solution in his eyes.
What are the argument that, we have bigger fish to fry right now? Wars, climate change. Shouldn't we focus there?
He calls superintelligence the meta-solution. His logic is pretty stark. If we get superintelligence right, it could potentially solve everything else: climate change, war, disease, all other existential risks. But if we don't get it right, it dominates all other problems. He puts it very directly. If climate change will take 100 years to boil us alive and superintelligence kills everyone in 5, I don't have to worry about climate change. For him, there is nothing more important than getting this right.
Okay, another common idea, especially in movies, is just pull the plug. If it gets dangerous, shut it down.
Yeah, he finds that idea so silly. He compares it to trying to turn off the internet or a computer virus or Bitcoin network. These things become Distributed systems, you cannot turn them off. Plus, he adds, if it's truly super intelligent, they're smarter than you, they will turn you off before you can turn them off. That pull-the-plug idea only works before it gets truly powerful and autonomous.
And that historical comparison we touched on earlier, the Industrial Revolution always bringing new jobs. Why is this different?
He calls it a fundamental paradigm shift. Past inventions, they were tools. Humans use them. AI, especially AGI and beyond, isn't just a tool, it's an inventor. It's a replacement for human mind. He says, quite dramatically, it's the last invention we ever have to make, because after that, the AIs do the inventing.
Okay, this leads to the really grim part. He mentions human extinction as a real risk. How does he see that potentially happening? What are the pathways?
Well, he admits he can only predict what his human mind can comprehend. One path he sees, even before superintelligence, is someone using advanced AI to create a bioweapon, a very advanced biological tool, create a novel virus, and that virus gets everyone or most everyone, released intentionally by, psychopaths, terrorists, doomsday cults. That's one route. As for superintelligence itself causing extinction, he says it will likely come up with completely novel ways of doing it that are simply beyond me. He uses this analogy.
The French bulldog one.
Yeah, like a French bulldog can't possibly predict all the complex, sometimes harmful ways a human might act. We're the bulldog in this scenario, facing something far more capable.
That bulldog analogy. Wow, it really paints a picture of incomprehensibility. Does he suggest any way for us, being the bulldogs, to even start thinking about these novel ways AI might act? Or are we just flying blind?
He pretty much implies we're flying blind when it comes to the super intelligent threats. Our minds just aren't built for it. But that's why his focus isn't necessarily on predicting the exact how, but on preventing the what's. Preventing the creation of something so powerful and uncontrollable in the first place, or at least slowing it down dramatically.
Right, so given this really bleak outlook, frankly, what can actually be done? By us, by society?
His main strategy seems to be appealing to personal self-interest, especially for those in power. He thinks if the people building this stuff, the investors, the CEOs, truly understood that general superintelligence is really bad for them personally, not just humanity in general, they might pause, they might not do it. So he's trying to convince everyone with any power that they personally will not be happy with the outcome. He mentions top researchers like Hinton and Bengio who now share similar deep concerns. He also thinks we should demand clear answers. Ask them precisely to explain how they'll solve the safety problems they currently admit are unsolved before they build even more powerful systems.
Okay, so pressure the developers. What else?
He encourages focusing development on narrow AI tools for solving specific problems, like using AI to cure breast cancer, great, but not building general superintelligence. And he supports groups like Stop AI or Pause AI, peaceful legal protest, hoping if enough people get involved it might have an impact. But for the average person listening, he's realistic. He admits there isn't not a huge amount you can do to directly influence these huge global events. Much like an individual during World War II or facing nuclear threat, it's a sobering reality check.
Okay, we've covered AI's impact, the safety crisis, extinction risks. But Dr. Yampolskiy goes even deeper. It is something really philosophical. He believes, almost certainly, that we are in a simulation. How does he get there?
It's a fascinating argument based on logic. It goes like this. If we eventually can create AI that's as smart as us and virtual reality that's totally indistinguishable from this reality, and if creating those simulations becomes affordable, then future humans or the AIs themselves will run billions of simulations just for research, entertainment, who knows. So statistically, if there are billions of simulated worlds and only one base reality, the odds are overwhelming that you are in one of the simulations right now, not the original one. He even suggests it might be retroactive. If it will become affordable someday, then statistically we're likely in one already.
Wow. And he connects this simulation idea to religion. That's unexpected.
Yeah, it is quite a leap. He argues that fundamentally, every religion basically describes what a super intelligent being, an engineer, a programmer, creating a fake world for testing purposes or for whatever.
Oh, yeah.
He says if you strip away the local traditions, the specific rules like don't work on Saturday, don't eat pork, the core idea is similar. They all think there is something greater than humans, very capable, all-knowing, all-powerful.
Yeah.
He likens that creator figure to someone running a sophisticated computer game or simulation. It's a modern tech interpretation of ancient cosmology.
So if we're in a simulation, does that change anything? Does life lose meaning? How should we act?
He doesn't think it strips away meaning, necessarily. He says, All the things you care about are still the same. Pain still hurts. Love still love, right? Those experiences are real within the simulation, and that's what matters to us. He thinks humans are naturally quite egotistical. We want to believe this is the top level, the real deal. But for him, knowing it might be a simulation makes him curious about what's outside the simulation. He wants to learn about the creators, the base reality. And he mentions this funny advice from a paper by Robin Hanson. If you're in a simulation, you want to be interesting, you want to hang out with famous people so they don't shut it down. Basically, don't be boring, don't be an NPC, a non-player character that the simulators might just delete.
Be interesting so they don't turn off the computer.
Mm.
Okay, we have covered an incredible amount of ground today. From AI taking jobs in just a few years, to AI safety being perhaps impossible, to, well, questioning reality itself.
Yeah, Dr. Yampolskiy's perspective is definitely challenging. It forces us to confront some really uncomfortable possibilities about the technology we're creating at breakneck speed, questioning the why, not just the what. This idea of creating an alien intelligence, as he sometimes calls it, that we might not control or even understand, it really pushes us to think about the fundamental ethics and priorities.
And that simulation idea, wow. If he's right, if we were living inside some vast simulation, it just reframes everything, doesn't it? Are we just characters? Does what we do here matter to whatever or whoever is outside? It leaves you wondering. So as you listening, reflect on all this. Think about it. If this life is part of some grander design, simulated or not, what kind of participant do you want to be? What was the biggest takeaway for you from this deep dive? How might it shift your view of the future?